Hey everyone, today I'm going to go over a new add-on I've just recently released called the Bevel Weight Manager. So by default, the hotkey is Alt-Shift-A to access this pie menu. And so what this add-on is, it's a simple add-on that wraps on top of the attribute system that allows you to quickly and easily assign attributes to components to use with modifiers. Now, I've called it the Bevel Weight Manager because the only modifier that can use attributes right now, to my knowledge, is the Bevel modifier. But once more modifiers use attributes, the add-on will become a lot more powerful. It's essentially replacing the vanilla Blender bevel weight. Before we could set values here, but we only have one value to set, whereas with attributes we can set multiple and, of course, multiple modifiers, right? So we'll just set that back. But let's just assign an attribute to this edge here. So we'll create an attribute called Bevel01. Great. Just create a Bevel modifier. Set this to weight. Set this to Bevel01, which we just created. We'll also just turn off loop slide for this particular example here. What we can also do is set the values greater than 1. So for example, I can set this to 2, or I can set this to 5, and we can create a lot of variation along our bevels. And this was not possible before. So let's stack on top of this another modifier. So I'll just select Shift-G, face angles, and we'll create a new modifier. We'll call it Bevel02. And we'll just duplicate this. Set that to Bevel02, and we'll just change a few settings here. Just soften this mesh. And so now you can see that we have two different non-destructive modifiers, both being set by a weight. So we've got support loops, and we've also got some broad scale bevels here as well. So if we want to remove anything or set values on anything, we can select which attribute we want to do that on. So if I want to set a value on Bevel01, which we were originally doing, if I want to set these and change them to 3, make sure Bevel01 is selected, set value. And the same thing for Bevel02. If we want to change anything on here, if I wanted to remove this, for example, make sure Bevel02 is selected and remove, and you can see that that bevel is no longer being affected on that particular edge. Another thing to note is that sometimes you can get out of sync, because if I select this attribute, for example, or this attribute, you can see that the add-on has Bevel02 selected, but we have UV map selected. So what we need to do is make sure that we just reset this. So we're setting the attribute on the correct one. So if you ever see out of sync, just make sure to reselect that. Let's move on to the next example here. So instead of weighting edges, we can also weight vertices. So I'll just weight this on the Vertex domain. So we'll call it Bevel01. And we'll also dial that in on these other vertices here. We'll call that Bevel02. Duplicate that, Bevel02. And there you go. Another thing you can do is you can visualize your attributes. So if I have Bevel02 selected and I go select attribute, I can see exactly what's assigned. If I select Bevel01, select attribute, I can see exactly what's assigned. So it just makes it easy to debug and add and remove your weights. Great, let's move on to another example. Again, just set this on the edge domain. Create a bevel modifier. Exact same thing. Just duplicate this. Set that to 02. And then if you want, you can stack on, a solidify modifier. And we could even weight these as well. So we'll set this on the vertex domain. We'll create another bevel, set that to vertices. And we'll need to do that before the solidify. Actually, we might need to do that at the very start, perhaps. There we go. Just make sure you get the order right. So yeah, super useful for hard surface modeling. And once again, if we want to select any of these attributes, select which one, and you can visualize it quite easily. Great. Moving on to the last example here. So I've just tagged these edges as sharp so they're easily selectable, but I'll just untag them for now. And we'll create a new attribute on the edge domain. Just scale this as well. And we've already got a modifier here, so I'll just set that to the correct weight. And now you can see we've just sub-D'd this object perfectly. And I'll just add another bevel on this internal edge here. Duplicate this. Just change a few of these settings around. And again, all of this is non-destructive. And just a little hot tip, when you have these kind of intersections where you have perpendicular edge flow like this, whenever I see this and I know that I want there to be a support loop here, I'll always make a little triangle here and here. Because what happens is when this edge here gets split, this particular edge will join to this, and this particular edge will join here, as you can see, and it just keeps the edge flow nice and clean, and we don't need to commit to any sort of topology to make the bevels work. They'll just work. Same thing here. You can see that I have perpendicular edge flow, create a triangle at that junction, and this will become the edge, the support loop here, and this will become the support loop going around there. Really great tip to have. Seems I've missed a couple here. And that's that. That's the Bevel Weight Manager. So if you think you'll find this useful, and I can assure you that it is, then you can pick it up on my Gumroad and on Blender Market. Thanks. Bye.